Disclaimer: my life experiences may be disturbing for some and trigger unwarranted emotions. I aim to bring awareness to the effects of childhood trauma and to encourage my viewers. The purpose of this channel is not to villainize, expose, or harm the image of anyone who contributed to the collective events of my life. I aspire to build a safe and sacred community for people who resonate with my content. I want to know that you exist too. Mwah. Greetings, beautiful divine beings. Welcome to Transform Nation 123. If my content resonates with your soul, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So y'all saw the title, and today I'm going to be sharing my first traumatic childhood experience I can remember. First off, I was born in Southern Arizona in July of 1990, y'all. My family moved to my daddy's hometown in Indianapolis when I was 3. And at the age of 4 or 5, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was a super cold winter day, and my family, which included my big sister, little brother, mama, and daddy, was all wrapped up riding down Forest Manor in our family car, which was a white Cadillac at the time. We just left my granny's house, my daddy's mama, and was at the corner of 30th and Forest Manor. We was about to make that left turn on the 30th Street, headed to the east side, when everything went downhill. I mean, downhill. It's so funny because I remember exactly what triggered my daddy's anger and rage towards me that day, even after all these years. I remember feeling so hot and stuffed up in my coat. My scarf was extra wrapped up and tight, hat, earmuffs and all. And you know how when you got all them clothes on and everything just all of a sudden start feeling real hot and heavy? It was like that, y'all. I started to loosen up and to take off my scarf to cool off and to breathe a little bit. And me wanting my scarf off to cool down turned our family, like a smooth family ride home, into a traumatic experience that ended up affecting me for so many years. I remember my daddy yelling at me saying, I bet not take my scarf off. And in a flash, the car was parked at the stop sign outside of the Collins Corner store. He bit down on his tongue with a raging look in his eyes, and with the quickness, he stretched his body up, reached over the seat, and pounded his hand right into the center of my chest. As soon as he hit me, he snatched up my scarf and coat and had me choked up, gasping for air against the back seat. And I can just remember how hard and quick he was jerking me around like I was weightless. I was so scared. Initially, I just froze up. As it started getting harder and harder for me to breathe, I managed to open up my door thinking I could somehow get out of there and escape, to where, I don't know, maybe out of his clutches, for real. This turned out to be the wrong move though, because it only made the situation worse. My daddy is a big man. I mean, well over 6 feet tall, big. So when I did this, I can vividly remember how he stretched his body even further over the seat so he wouldn't lose his grip. At this point, the back door was slightly pushed open and my head was hanging out towards the concrete. As I was being choked and shook up, I remember the pressure all in my head and face from crying and barely being able to breathe. I felt like a worthless rag doll, tears rolling down my face, snot and slobber all over the place, gasping for air, and just wanting the whole thing to be over. I remember my mama yelling to him to get off me. I can hear her voice in my head saying, stop, let go of her. And by the grace of God, he came to his senses and did let me go. Then he told me to sit up, straighten my face, slammed the door, turned around, and drove off. So this was the very first adverse childhood experience that dampened my perception of self, made me question my sense of overall security, level of protection, love, and care coming from the first male figure in my life. Growing up, I thought so highly of him. I looked up to him. In my eyes, he could do no wrong. Everything he did must have had a reason for it, far beyond what my little mind could understand. If he was leaving the house, I was the first one up wanting to go. I didn't care about where he was going. Whenever he moved, I moved. And for real, it was just like that. And whenever I couldn't go, I cried my eyes out one way or another. Growing up, I really was a daddy's girl all the way. I have a lot of great memories of past experience with him, memories I'll hold on to and cherish forever. I just had to stop allowing these memories to keep me around after I grew older and the whole dynamic of our relationship eventually drastically changed. It's fascinating how light often finds its way to darkness, creating a delicate balance between the two opposing forces. At that point, at that moment, when he let me go and turned around and drove off in the car, my entire being just deflated. I was hurting physically, emotionally. Once we pulled off, I felt so low and small. When we got to the house, my mama took me to my room, sat me down, put my head on her chest, and just rubbed her fingers through my hair. She rocked me and softly blew on my face, telling me that everything was gonna be okay. I remember how soothing her hands felt. She knew exactly what to do to make her baby feel better. And that was that. The whole experience just became a memory simply left behind in the rear view. My daddy never talked about it or brought it up and just dusted it over like it never happened. I quickly forgot about it too, the experience, and was waiting to jump right back into his arms as soon as he walked through the door from work, checking all up in his lunchbox to see what was left inside for me. As I continued to grow, I started to fully notice and understand the situations my mama and sister was going through after this whole choking incident. So me seeing him going back and forth between spazzing out and causing pain to showing love, care, and concern like nothing ever happened really took a toll on my psyche. Every blue moon, he'd apologize, but it was usually years after the fact. These experiences ultimately had a major impact on how I perceived what was normal or even necessary when it came to how relationships with males should be. I was under the impression that a male's affection automatically came with pain at some point, and subconsciously, I eventually attracted connections like this. The circumstances may have been different at times, but the whole I'ma hurt you, but you know I still love you kind of love became something I expected. I learned that being hurt wasn't a big deal, not even important enough to address. This led to unhealthy connections within romantic relationships and friendships. I had a bad habit of compromising too much and hanging on to connections far longer than I ever should have. And on that note, beautiful divine beings, if my message resonates with your soul, stay tuned. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Stay true to your code and do you, boo. Peace, love, and light. Mwah. So, this was the very first adverse childhood experience that dampened my perception of self, made me question my sense of overall security, level of protection, love, and care coming from the first male figure in my life. Growing up, I thought so highly of him. I looked up to him. In my eyes, he could do no wrong. Everything